Hi everyone. Today my guest is Narek Amirkhanyan. Narek is the host of the Rearrange podcast based in Armenia and is the CEO of a fast-growing data company called Hexact. We talk about business, productivity, creating stories, Facebook culture, and more. I do want to correct one thing I said in this podcast. As you'll hear later on, I make the claim that the US doesn't donate vaccines to countries in the Caucasus and the Middle East, but what I meant to say is that they don't donate to those countries as much as China does. I know this is out of context, but I really wanted to clear that up. Also, I'm excited to announce that I've paired up with John at Liminal Armenian to read a poem selected by the guest at the very end of the episode. I decided to do this so that we can all learn from the wisdom of our Armenian poets. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. It's funny because I listened to you. I listened to your podcast, so it's like this really interesting feeling where you've listened to someone and you've heard them speak and you kind of know them on some level, and then you're meeting them for the first time. So it's like this really interesting thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, it happens with me also. Like people approach me in the street and they like know me, but I don't know them. And I'm trying to be nice as much as possible. Because like I give a lot of family details, a lot of personal details on the podcast, and like strangers who I don't know them, they know me. And when you listen to someone for a long time, it happens to me. Like I listen to a lot of podcasters, and there's a feeling like I'm friends with them because I spend so much time listening to their content. And when people are approaching and saying, "Hi, how are you? How is your kid? Like, how is your renovation is going?" I'm like, why? wow, dude, I don't know you, but like, you know a lot of things about me. So that's really interesting.
Is it weird? Like, do you get freaked out by it?
No, it's like I got used to it. In the beginning, it was very weird. Then I realized that like I talk a lot of stuff about me, about family, about personal stuff, and it's okay that people know a lot of things about me because they are following our conversation. They are getting some insight. They are getting some knowledge from that. And it's like I'm really thankful to a lot of content creators, and because they give me a lot of insights. And if I will meet them someday, I will also approach and say thank you for your work because it had influence on me. The same way other people are like approaching to me, and it's very exciting.
Okay. So I have like a lot of things I want to talk to you about, but why don't we start with your podcast? I wanted to know why it's called Rearrange. What got you into that idea, and then why did you start doing podcasts?
Probably I've told this story a couple of times already in a different interviews. Like the name is, it comes really from the song by Limp Bizkit. They have a song called Rearranged, D in the end, and the main song of the podcast is also that song. Like I was searching for the name of the song, and I heard the song by Limp Bizkit, and I thought like, wow, this is a really nice name because like you have to rearrange a lot of stuff in your life. You have to rearrange a lot of things to be able to grow. And the whole idea of the podcast was to talk with interesting people who had added some value in our society, and not only, and who can give insight, can give knowledge, and rearrange something in our lives. So it was like very nice fitting name. So I choose that name, and like it sticked. And the reason why I started, because like I used to listen to the podcast a lot, and I gained a lot of knowledge from the podcasts, from like, I don't know, from Malcolm Gladwell to Joe Rogan, and NPR podcasts also are very nice. New York Times, like, but there were no like very like known or interesting podcast in Armenia. There were a few, but it was like very, very underground. Like maybe 100 people were listening to them. I don't know the numbers, but it was very, very low. So I felt like I have very interesting people in my how to say it,
environment, atmosphere.
In my environment, I had like college professors, friends who established businesses, and very interesting people that I'm friends with. So I felt like these people have a lot of knowledge to share. These people have a lot of things to say, but in the mainstream media, they are only talking bullshit and politics. And these people do not have a chance to share their knowledge with a lot of people. They share their knowledge in the university, they share their knowledge in the small environments that they are operating, but their voice is not heard in mainstream. A lot of people do not have a chance to meet with that kind of people, because like 10 years ago I would never imagine that I would know that this kind of people who are like top in their field. So I thought that it will be interesting to start a podcast to talk with them and share all that knowledge with more people, and that was the reason. I was motivated by other podcasters who like taught me a lot, influenced me. So I decided I can do the same, because there are a lot of interesting people in my environment who can share the knowledge, who added value.
Right. I remember, I mean, I didn't follow you when you first started, but I've went back to your older interviews, and some of them were, I think one of them was in Russian, one of them was in English, and then I think you totally just started doing Armenian. Are you going to keep it that way? Are you just going to do Armenian from now on?
It depends on the guest. If we will have interesting guests who doesn't speak Armenian, they speak Russian or English, I can do in English or Russian. But I know that a lot of people from my followers do not understand English. That's why even in the YouTube version, I put translation of the English words, because I use a lot of English words in the podcast, and there are some guests who also like have English education, and there are some words that you just can't translate in Armenian, like NFT. How do you translate NFT in Armenian? Or like,
right,
there are some terms and words that are new, that they are changing, evolving, and the language is not updating as quickly in Armenian as the English one. Also, there are like a lot of professional books that I read, my guest reading, that is in English, and some terminology cannot be translated in Armenian. Even if it can translate it, like, we don't know that words. Maybe it's our bad, but but like, if you want to be some like top of your field, if you want to get a lot of knowledge, you have to know English. Because a lot of like content is coming out from English world, and if you want to be updated, if you want to know the latest development in your field, you have to know English, because it will be translated in Russian or Armenian in couple years, and after it will be translated, maybe that information will not be relevant anymore. That is the point. But I will do in English ones also, Russian ones also. Like, my Russian is not as good as my English. My English level is like okay, I can easily speak. The last the 76th episode was like half Armenian, half English.
Yes, with Zaven, right?
Yeah, with Zaven from Zartong Media, because like he some ideas he is more comfortable to express in English, because like English is like his main language. But I'm not putting any constraints regarding that. I will do in English, I will do in Russian. If I would know German, I would do in German, but mainly in Armenian.
That's in terms of the language aspect. Whenever I came to Armenia, after the last time I visited was in 2015, and then I came back this winter. So I was there in January, and I think I could tell a really big difference in the English speaking levels. Like, there was a lot more people speaking English in restaurants, etc.
Yeah, because of tourists, like if you're working in service, you have to know English because a
Right.
lot of tourists are coming to Romania.
Hmm.
And if you're in creative business or if you are in IT, these fields are like growing very fast in Romania. You have to know English because you are working with foreigners, and the main business communication language still English in Romania. Maybe in the future it will be Chinese, but for the next 10 years probably it will stay English.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've also seen a lot of Armenians go to China and study there, and I didn't realize that there was that kind of relationship with China until recently, of Armenians going to China and studying there and doing things like that.
I don't know like too much details about it. Like I had some friends who studied in China. I know that China built like a huge embassy in Yerevan, like very close to American embassy. There are some relations, but like frankly speaking, I don't know much about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just I'll say this one thing and then we can move on. But I think what China's trying to do right now in terms of policy is they're trying to have really good relations with low to middle income countries and try to extend their influences there. Because from my understanding, I recently wrote a report on this. Even whenever it came to vaccination
Mm-hmm.
dosage donations, they were targeting like low to middle income countries. For example, if you compare the U.S. map of vaccine donations versus the China map, the U.S. doesn't include countries in the Caucasus or the Middle East, but China will.
Yeah, it's like it's a bargaining power for them. They can use it then to influence some of your decisions. Like US used to do that, uh, like much better than they are doing it now.
Yeah, I that might be because they're taking up a more isolation policy, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't want to go deep into that because
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know anything about that. Um, I wanted to also talk to about your company and then business in general in Armenia. You're the CEO of a company called Hexact.
Yes.
What is Hexact, and were you the founder?
I'm not a founder. I'm the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of the company. Uh, so Hectac, like if it's a data company, we're like collecting a lot of data from open sources, then using AI and different kind of tools, we are automating it, changing it, mixing it, and giving you like raw, useful data that you need. And without any coding. For example, you can get that kind of information if you are a coder or
Hmm.
a software engineer, but with our platform, you don't need any coding skills. You just push a couple of the buttons and you can have all the open information in the world that you want to. For example, you can have Amazon prices. You have access to Google big data. Like before our platform, it was only possible if you were a software engineer. You can access all the open information in the world. Like you can get notifications about the changes. You can translate articles to the different languages, then automatically post it on WordPress. There are like a lot of automations that make your life easier, like automate a lot of stuff, and and it's only growing. We have more than 90 automations already that is working in our platform, and we are growing its number every week. And like in our company, we have like one specific rule: we have to update our platform every week. Like in the end of every week, we are sending email to our customers that we have this kind of new features, and
Mm.
all of our customers know that every week they will get some sweet things
Okay,
from
wow.
us. Yeah. And the company operation is built that way that we have to give updates every week. Like there are some updates that we can work on it for like 3-4 months and release it. But there are some updates that we are working 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 days. But every week we will release something new.
Mm-hmm. Can you? I'm really bad when it comes to IT tech fields. Can you give me a very specific example of how Hexac can be used?
For example, one of the most used features. You are a salesperson or a business and you want to understand your competitors or sell something to someone.
Okay.
For example, you are producing or importing something for dentists. You go to our platform, type dental clinics, like choose Los Angeles, and using Google Maps, we will give you all the list of the dental clinics in Los Angeles. We will extract the emails, phone numbers, website, and you will have like huge report with all their addresses, names, emails, website, and phone numbers. Like before this, you would like spend weeks to get all that information. With our platform, it will take a couple of minutes, and you have the list of all dental clinics in the city. Then you can start to call and email them and with your offer. So like here, we saved you weeks of work.
Okay.
And
Wow.
this is just some basic thing. Or for example, you are a journalist and you are following some Spanish newspaper or English newspaper. Whenever they release a new article, with our platform, you can translate it to the language that you want, for example, Chinese. And you have a Chinese blog. After translating, you can automatically post it using WordPress to your platform. So when the article comes, it translates and it posts. You don't have to do nothing.
Oh wow. And are you using Google Translate as the medium for translations, or do you have your own software?
There are different types of AI that we are using for translation. Yeah, we are using Google corporate service. It's not the same as the Google Translate that average users use. It's more advanced for businesses. And soon we will have let's say app store that different companies who are doing some automations, AIs, or workflows can sell it through our platform and make some money.
Okay, this is really interesting. Is it it's a solely Yerevan based company?
Right now, the most of the stuff are from Yerevan. Our CMO marketing director is from England, but right now he lives in Poland, and we are now hiring in Argentina. We already have 2 employees from Argentina, and we are going to expand globally. The company is really growing really fast. Like last year, we grew 400%, and this year we will do the same, if not more. Like now we have more than 60,000 customers.
And are customers usually individuals or are they companies?
It's usually individuals from businesses, like founders, managers. It's used for the businesses. It's used for e-commerce. It's used for sales, marketing, and people are individuals, but they are using that for their business needs.
In terms of the business aspect of the company, and Zaven kind of talked about this too in your guys' podcast. I want to know about like efficiency in business and in Armenia in general. Like, what steps are being taken to, I guess, maximize efficiency in businesses? Like, do you guys wake up early? Do you start your work early, or
like in our company? Me, Stepan, Armen, the executive team, we are in the office at 8 a.m. usually. I'm the latest one that are coming. And the team is starting to come from 9 a.m. At 10 a.m. we have our team stand-up every morning. And after that, like the work usually starts. Before the team arrives, you already are doing your emails and all that kind of stuff. But it's not typical for Romania, like coming to the work at 8 a.m. Like we are doing our podcast right now at 8:30, and we have already people in the office working. but I'm in the studio, which is another room in the office. So the productivity in Armenia overall is very low, very, very low. We are not efficient. We are not working as hard as we can. And like we are not even in the top 100 countries by productivity. Some experts say that because like we have a lot of people who are working on agriculture, and agriculture in Armenia is not like centralized. We have a lot of small lands, and families just usually doing their own land. We don't have big farms like in US, like corn farms, like that can go like kilometers, miles and miles. Like, so one of the reason is that, and another thing that the business culture, the corporate culture is just starting to develop in Armenia after collapse of Soviet Union. Like for 20 years, maybe we were just surviving here. Like, but the last 10, 15 years, some international businesses started to come to Armenia. A lot of startups were established in Yerevan and in Armenia, and experience from outside of Armenia started to come here. The knowledge, they bring knowledge with them, and the corporate culture is like started to develop here. It's not so bad right now, but there is a lot of room to grow, to increase our productivity, come to the work earlier, be more efficient, and like spend time really doing the work instead of like drinking coffee and smoking.
Right. Do you think that that's the solution, that getting international businesses involved to creating a more efficient society, or do you think that's just going to come with time, with the next generation?
I think both. Like you need to have examples and international companies or the IT startup that's starting to operate globally like us. And you start to learn a lot of things, how people are operating outside, like how they are working, what are the tools and mechanisms that you can use to increase your productivity, your efficiency. And by time you are starting to use it, to implement it and increase your productivity. So you need time to be able to implement it, to execute it properly. And you also need knowledge from outside. So you know how, by example, how it was done. You need to understand how it was done, for example, in USA or in Canada or Europe, and also you need to understand your local environmental needs, because you just cannot like take it and copy it and put it. It will not work, because there are how we think, how we operate is totally different from, for example, from USA. And if you want to implement some tools that is working properly in USA and it is like increasing the productivity of the company, you need to understand how you can do it in here, so it will not harm. And because like blindly copying some model usually harms more than gives than adding value. So you have to have both the understand of local environment, you have to understand how it was done outside of the for example in USA. Also you have to understand how to implement it, considering local differences, and also you need time to implement it properly, so it will become like a habit.
Right. That's interesting that you said that. It reminded me of something. I was talking to one of my professors. She's also a mentor to me, and I was telling her I want to move to Armenia after I'm done with university. And I was saying, I think I was inquiring about what degrees I should get that would make me most useful whenever I go to Armenia. And one of the things that she told me is, don't assume that Western education is better than the education you might receive in Armenia, because you don't know how, like you like going back to what you were saying about copying and pasting. You can't always use whatever you learn from Western schools in a different environment.
Yeah, totally agree. There are a lot of people who are like graduates of Harvard, Oxford, or I don't know, UCLA or some top universities from USA or UK. They are coming here that we know everything. Now we will change it. You stupid people do not understand how everything is working. We are from Harvard.
Yeah.
And they're failing here like miserably because like they don't actually understand the differences.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are like a lot of differences, as I mentioned, and like environments are totally different, and you have to understand the details.
Right.
Like the devil always is in details. If you don't get the details, like the model will not work.
Right. Can you give me an example of how that happened? If like of someone coming from America and not understanding
There are
something?
a lot. There are a lot in Armenia because they are coming with good intentions. Like,
right. Yeah.
let's be honest, they are coming with really good intentions to change something here, to increase productivity, to start the businesses. But the local environment here is totally different, and you have to learn something. Live here a little bit. Try to talk with the locals, try to understand the differences. As I mentioned, try to understand the details. And after that, we will step by step try to make some changes. When you are coming to the new place and we are trying to insert the model that you think is right, they will attack it like immune system attacks the virus, because it's different. And if it's different, then it's a threat. So they try to protect it, because for most of the people, when something is different, then it's a threat. It's evolutionary thing. We automatically attack. Even like when you are trying to implement a new system in a work, for example, changing your internal communication platform, for example, you use Skype and now you are integrating Slack, or you used Asana or Trello and you are now try to integrate like ClickUp. Most of the time, like most of the employees will attack the change because they're used to something, and you are trying to implement, execute new things. They don't want changes. Most of the people do not want changes, and it's totally okay. Like our brain is a very lazy organ, and it's okay that we are attacking the changes. So we have to understand deeply what are the motivations of the people, how we can implement that change, how we can motivate them to be your partner, not the enemy who will attack the changes. And understand, maybe you don't need to implement that model in this environment. Maybe it worked in LA, but it will not work in Dilijan, for example.
I think this also goes back to maybe part of this is also trust, right? Building a trustworthy relationship between diaspora Armenians and mainland Armenians. What do you think would be a good way? What's a good mindset for a diaspora Armenian coming to Armenia to have?
I really don't know. Like, we can talk about it, but I don't know. Like, because trust is something that it's very hard to build. Usually by default, I trust people, and I disappointed when they lie. But most of the people by default, they don't trust others. Like we are all Armenians, but if you are coming from diaspora and from local Armenians for diaspora, we are different. As we already talked about, we are different. So it's better when we are different, people usually focus on differences, not similarities. Like, I think it will be easier to build the trust between two different groups. It doesn't matter it's diaspora, Armenians, Chinese, or Americans. When you focus on similarities, then after that, when you trust each other because you have some similarities, start to talk about the topics that are different for and can be pain points. We usually like from the beginning we usually start to talk about painful stuff that and it's okay that after that conflict happens. Like we should focus on similarities. Like we're all Armenians. It's by default. We don't need to talk about it. Like we are Armenians. We are Armenians. Okay, we understand. We all are Armenians. Like let's put it apart. Let's start to think about like what kind of values we are sharing. Okay, we have some values that are the same. For example, we go to the church, to Armenian church. We, I don't know, like the same kind of food. We listen to the same kind of music. Okay, it's something that we can talk about already. Let's focus on that. And after that, we build some relationship. Let's focus on the thing. For example, why, guys, you are not waking up at 6:30 a.m. and going to the work at 8 a.m.?
Right.
Why you are going to work at, I don't know, 11 a.m.?
Yeah.
And after you are arriving to the work, you are having a coffee, you are having a cigarette, and by the lunchtime, you are ready to work, but then you go to the lunch. And after the lunch, you like get rest like half hour because like you just eat heavy meat stuff, and there's like some protein inside your body, and your body is spending more energy to digest that protein then and taking out energy from your brain, and you are tired. You don't want to work. Like why you are doing it? And why we're waking up at a.m. Let's talk about it. Like, and after there's some relationship is built, we can start to talk about the things that bother us.
This is a really interesting point. I'm going to say something that changed my perspective about things, and it has to do with finding similarities and talking about similarities first. I was listening to a political commentator in America. He's on the conservative side, and he was saying right now I think we can agree that a lot of people are politicized, like very polarized from in
Totally.
America too.
It's everywhere in Armenia also.
Right. So what he was saying is before you start a conversation with someone who shares different political views than you should both, whoever you're talking with, you should both accept the fact that your intentions are good. You both want what's best for the country. Yeah. Once you establish the fact that, okay, I know I want the best for Armenia. I know you want the best for Armenia. Once you establish that fact of like acknowledging intention, good intention, your conversation will be so much better. Because it'll be in a place of understanding.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, it's totally interesting. Yeah, it can be. It can be. There is something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going on a little bit toward. I don't want to talk about politics too much, but I recently got a Facebook, and I've added a lot of political people, and they write things, and I agree with them.
Really, don't do it. It's a waste of time and a waste of energy.
Okay. Well, I was gonna ask you about like the Facebook culture, because I have all these people added, but I see just like every day I see them writing a lot of posts, and they might be doing other things, like they might be actually taking like real action, but I just don't know about it. But it's just that everyone's just writing things, and then
you're right.
Yeah, everyone's writing things. I don't know how to process it, and I don't know what to do about it, but I'm just like looking at it. Yeah,
I don't know if you saw my Facebook or not lately. I'm like very, very passive there. I don't spend time like writing something on Facebook or commenting or reading some stuff. Now I'm saying that Facebook in Armenia is like for angry people who have a lot of free time.
Okay. Yeah. It reminds.
there are a lot of like interesting people on Facebook that are writing and they are doing real world stuff,
Yeah.
and they are writing in a Facebook because there is no other way to express their disappointment, but they are actually working. But most of the people, as far as I understand, they are just writing. It's like virtue signaling. They are saying that we are with you, we support something, we are very concerned. Okay, but I'm like, it's like bullshit, you know, like they are very concerned in the Facebook, but in the real life they are doing nothing. Really, I'm saying it again, there are a lot of people who write a lot and they really work and they like add value, but as I understand, most of the people just write there some bullshit stuff that they are supporting this or they're against this, or this one is a traitor, this one is a saver, like that kind of like stupid talk, which is polarizing more than giving like real world good. It's not doing any good. It's not doing any good. And angry stuff is like shareable. When you are like putting angry thoughts and you're against something, this one, that kind of stuff is like easily likable and shareable because people want to blame others for their actions. Like my philosophy, maybe I'm wrong, like what you are doing that is giving real world good, like what good you are doing, what value you are adding, and how to express it right. If you are not doing any good to anyone, why you are disappointed that you are living poor and nobody respects you? Like the main thing that you have to be concerned what you did for others. When you are doing something for others that is useful for them, people are ready to pay for it, or give you their word, or respect you, or listen to you. And if you are just complaining that all other people are to blame because something was not done, it's probably your fault. Like if you are not doing nothing, if you are doing nothing and are not adding anything, are not adding any value, why you are complaining that your life is miserable? There are like external factors that can there are a lot of external factors that can affect, for example, wars, like neighbors who are trying to take you over or trying to kill all your population to get the lands. There are a lot of external factors, but even if everyone try to do their best, we can like balance that external factors. For example, if all of us were like had a weapon, maybe the outcome of the war would be different. If like we would not say that Russia will save us, maybe the outcome of the war would be different. Like maybe you would understand that your only choice is you, and not Russia or Europe or USA or someone else who will not come here to save you. Maybe you would like get physically fit, take the weapon, and be more prepared. I'm just like thinking out loud. Maybe I'm wrong, but when you are putting your when you are waiting that someone will come and save you, it's usually the outcome will be the one that you are expecting, because nobody is coming here to save you. Not you have to do the work on your own. Like if you want to live rich, you go out and work. You are not waiting for some relative to die and give you a fortune. That way sometimes happen, but it's like very, very, very rarely.
You're bringing up an interesting point, and I think it's something that I started to really think about maybe 2-3 years ago. Basically, in my individual life, whenever things go wrong, even if it's not my fault, I'll always try to think like, what could I have done differently? And I think it's really important to take personal responsibility, even if it doesn't look like it's your fault. Just the fact that if you could think about, okay, what could I have done differently, it'll lead to improvement, and it'll lead to someone becoming a better person and being able to maybe be more impactful in whatever
Yeah,
situation they come across.
yeah, exactly. Like if you are not doing your everyday stuff properly, and you are blaming others, like others are not to blame that you are not doing your everyday stuff properly. Like do it better than others. Like try to change something, and after that you will see that you really will be able to change your environment. There are a lot of stuff, again, I'm telling that it's impossible to change. Like if you like born in a ghetto or some poor country, you cannot become like Elon Musk, most probably, or Bill, I don't know, Bill Gates, because they were born in a like very specific time frame, like in a very rich country, white and male, for example, which was at back then was maybe a plus. Like you cannot see a lot of women who born in like 40s or 50s that are billionaires. The society was working a little bit differently back then than now. So there are a lot of factors. If you are from ghetto, it will be much harder for you to get outside of it and become I don't know, rich people. That's why the governments exist. That's why some social programs exist that help people who have born in the environments that are hostile for their future. But if you are someone from like middle class family who has good education, degree, and is able to work, like you can do whatever you want if you are like, if you are trying hard, if you are learning every day, if you are trying to get better every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
About those external factors, do you think maybe Armenians feel like they can't climb a ladder, so to speak, because maybe some people feel stuck, and maybe that's why, they might feel that writing Facebook posts is mm, mm, a lot of what they can do, but then in terms of climbing like a ladder of getting into a higher socioeconomic status or something like that, maybe they feel that they can't do that, or they're discouraged from doing that.
I think there are a lot of people who think that way in Armenia, that you are stuck, that you cannot do anything. And a lot of people, even in the environment, will tell you cannot do anything. You cannot change anything. Go find a work there, get a salary, buy a home in a mortgage, and live your life. There are a lot of people who will say that kind of things in Armenia, and there are a lot of people who born in like very how to say it, everything was against them, everything, and in that situation it's extremely hard to get out of that kind of situation on your own. That's why here, like, people who have chance to share their knowledge, to invest their wealth on that kind of social programs, or like, I'm a really believer that you are create your own creator, and you have to try as hard as possible, and you can achieve a lot of things. But sometimes, like, people really need help. Like, I'm not a socialist, but I've seen a lot of people who are stuck, and they sometimes they need help to get out of their neighborhood, to get out and get education, and to meet interesting people who have done the business, who have done a lot of stuff by their own. Like, most of the guests that I'm like inviting, all that people didn't born rich, or didn't born with a lot of knowledge. Most of them like created themselves, and they're like very good example for that kind of people, that it's okay to be stuck, It's okay that you cannot like move forward, but here, like, see these people, they were also in that position, but they were able to overcome that issues, and now they are successful. But a lot of people in Armenia really need some help to understand that there is different environment, and that the world can be different, and writing angry Facebook post is not the only solution. You can do something. They like, we usually imitate what we see. When everybody in your environment is doing nothing and writing angry Facebook posts, you think that's the solution. But writing in a social media and arguing with people who you don't know and will never meet in the streets is is the worst thing that you can do to increase your life quality.
I wanted to talk about working with each other for similar goals. I think there's this other stereotype of Armenians where that I've heard a lot of people saying that Armenians don't want other Armenians to succeed. There's this stereotype that I've heard of, maybe like it's from stemming from jealousy or pride or something, etc., etc. Do you think that actually exists, where people don't want to work together for a common goal? Like they don't want to support one another, or is that just like a myth that I'm hearing?
I think that kind of stuff exists everywhere, not only in Armenia. Of course, there are some people in Armenia who are like that. It's called jealousy. There is a word for every language in the world. There are that kind of people in everywhere. And I think the problem is not that people are not able to get together for the common goal and do something. The problem is that every one of us is doing our work worse than we can. Do you know what I mean? Like, the problem is not that we are not getting together. The problem is that we are not good enough with what we are doing. For example, if I'm a businessman, I should try to do my business as good as possible. If I'm an NGO, I should try to, I don't know, do my job as good as possible. If I'm a politician, I should do as good as possible to consolidate people for the common goal and or get the votes. Like, politicians here are complaining, people didn't vote for us. Like, what the hell? Who is you are blamed for that. They are saying they are voting for populists. Why? Because you didn't give a better alternative. Why you are complaining that people are not voting for you? Who is blamed for that? They are not educated. They are not this. They are not that. Like, blaming like regular people for something that they were not able to do. Like, there are example for a lot of people. Politicians in Armenia are like most influential people in Armenia. They are getting the most media time. They are getting the most attention in the media and out. And they are example for a lot of people. Most of the people are not going to listen to your or my podcast. Most of the people are going to listen to the politicians. And if politicians are blaming others all the time for the work that they didn't do, people will like think that this is the normal way to behavior. Let's blame all each other for our failures, and it's become norm. And it becomes norm.
I listened to a TED talk that you did about stories, and then I remember in one of your podcast episodes, I think you said that maybe one of the reasons that the opposition didn't find success is because they didn't have a story.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, what could have been the opposition story, let's say?
I don't know what their story would be, but like Nicole Pashinyan had a story. He was telling the same story for 30 years. That you are living poor because of corrupt politicians and corrupt oligarchs. And he was not telling that you are living poor because you don't want to do anything. It is not the most interesting story. It's easier to blame all others for your failures. So he was telling the story that You are living poor because of corrupt politicians and corrupt oligarchs. In some way, it was true, but it was a story. And he was promising that he will bring back billions of dollars that was stolen. We never saw that. And but I don't want to go to politics. I will stick to a story part. And he has the story, and he is still telling that story right now. And a lot of people believe to that story.
Yeah.
Opposition do not have their story. They are telling every week or every month they are telling different things, and people are believing something, and it's a rule of the marketing. When you're constantly repeating something, people start to understand it, people start to believe it, people hear it. But if you are changing your narrative every month, you don't have a story. You can take big international brands. They're using the same strategy. Apple, think different. They did that campaign 30 years ago in 90s when Steve Jobs came to the company, and they are still using that slogan. They were using it for 30 years. Or Nike, just do it. The campaign of just do it, it was done in 80s. Or the joy with Coca-Cola. The brands are using their vision, their slogan for decades. And some politicians understand it intuitively, like Nikol Pashinyan. I don't think that he had a special education, so he understands it. A lot of people can get it intuitively. But our opposition is not good at telling stories, or is not good at doing marketing. That's why they are not as influential as they would like to. You have to have a narrative that you are repeating constantly. In USA, Democratic Party or Republican Party, they also have their narratives. And if you ask our average American, they can tell what they stand for.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
And we don't know what Nikol Pashinyan stands for. We just know his story. And we don't know what opposition leaders stand for. Are they liberals? Are they conservatives? Are they socialists? Are they, I don't know, for minimal regulations? There is no that kind of talks in Armenia. Mostly it's this one did this one did that, and elect me, I will get money from rich oligarchs and distribute it to you, or elect me, I will build the biggest church, or elect me and I will return lands from Turkey. How, I don't know, but that kind of stuff. There is no real political discussions that can go deep, and there it can be intellectual talk, or think tanks that people, the politicians, or I don't know, thought leaders can go and talk about and discuss, understand the vision, where are we going, the main reasons of our problems, why we are not efficient enough, why we are not productive enough, why we are not able to collaborate with each other, and where we are going to be in 10 years. I'm not talking about in 50 years. What is our strategy for next 10 years? We should not, it's okay that we can have different strategies. Every party can give its strategy, and I like this strategy, the other one like that strategy, but the end result should be good for the country, and not destroying everything in the sake of to be the right one. Even in USA, you can see it. Even if the Democratic Party says something right, Republicans will oppose it because it's Democrat. Or even if Republicans will say something really important that can be useful for the society, Democrats will oppose it. Why? Because it's became who is right or who is wrong, not the end result.
That was a really good point. I don't know if I should go back to what we were talking about or move on. I think one of the things that came to mind whenever you were talking about stories and what the story that Pashinyan had is that every person that I ask, not every person, but a lot of people that I ask have the same arguments, and I think it comes from that story. For example, you'll just hear people say, for 30 years, like nach Ginera, which means, the past.
Formals, the formal ones.
Yeah, the formers stole. Like, this is the argument that everybody knows, right? But then once you start asking questions, more specific questions, no one has answers to those questions. It's just like this very generalized argument, and it's, for me, it's unsatisfactory. I really
Yeah,
wish I knew more about that. So even if it, let's say it's true, I want to know the specifics, you know. And I think
but
those
no one will
specifics
give
are
you
lacking.
specifics, because if they knew the specifics, that people would be in jail, and they should be in jail if they stole. We know a lot of stories, but now, I used to hear a lot of stories, and sometimes I believe that, and now, I'm very, very careful to believe to some stories,
Yeah,
because I understood that most of the stories are made up by, I don't know, the parties that is now on has the power, or the opposition. They are making up stories to be able to control people with some stupid narratives. And when you have to be very careful when you are saying something. You have to think about why you are saying something. Can you go one level deeper? As you said, like, after you know the tagline, somebody stole or somebody is a traitor. Okay, we know the tagline. Let's try to go one level deeper. Do we know anything about it? From whom we heard that? And let's think about why people are telling their stories, from where it's come from. Do we have any information about it, or it's just a gossip? Like, gossip is the from my TED talk, that gossip is a like backbone of the language. We really like gossiping, but when you hear gossip, you have to ask a question: is it true or not? Can you like go a little bit deeper to understand what is going on? And if you are not able to try find any information and anything about it, it's probably just a gossip. But when the government say it's a gossip, it's probably true.
Let me ask you one final question, and I'm going to pull out a Lex Friedman type of question here. What do you think? How do you know when you're in love? How do you know that whenever you want to marry someone, how do you know that that person is the person you want to marry?
I married so long time ago that I already forgot. But it's a feeling like you want to be with this person all the time. You want to share everything with them. You want to hear what they are talking about, and you cannot imagine your life without them. Probably you can live without them, but at that point you cannot imagine life without them. And you always want to be with them. You always want to spend time with them. You want to hear their I don't know, their opinion, what they think, what kind of music they love. And even if you don't like that kind of music, and they say that you like it, they like it, you want to hear that music, because you want to understand them as good as possible, and the way they are. When you want to change something in them, it's probably not as a strong of a feeling, because you won't build a person who you imagine, because like she likes that kind of music, she dresses this way, she's doing that or that, or he, if you were a girl. And you are, when you are trying to change them the way you want to, it's probably you have some images, you are trying to make someone else from them.
Mm.
uh, if you don't want to make someone else from them, if you like the way they are, it's probably love. I don't know. Of course, there are some things that you would like. See, like when I was working with my sister, I was more strict to her than others because I knew that she could do better, and I really wanted her to do better.
Yeah.
Because like I love her because she's my sister, and I know she could do better, and I want the best for her. And sometimes in love also like that, you know that she or he can do better, and like really they are trying to be lazy. Like
Right.
a lot of time I get that kind of things from my wife. Like she knows that I can do better, but I'm just lazy as fuck, and she can push me, or I can push others, or that also can happen. But most of the things that make a person, you don't want to change.
Okay, well, I can't see a better way of stopping the podcast. So thank you again, Narek, for coming. I really, really appreciate it, and it was a very insightful conversation.
Thank you for invitation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Narek.
I hope I didn't say too many stupid things.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And as promised, here's the recitation of this episode's poem, The Frenzied Masses by Yerisha Charents. I will recite the Armenian, and John from Liminal Armenian will recite the English. Yerisha Charentsi ամբողները խելագարված պոեմից մի հատված. Հերու մոտիկ ընկերներին, աշխարհներին, արևներին, հրա նման հոգիներին, բոլոր նրանց, ում որ հոգին վարվում է վար, բոլոր նրանց հոգիներին արևավար, կյանքի մայ այս ամեհի աղջամուջում, ողջակիզվող հոգիներին, ողջույն, ողջույն.
The Frenzied Masses by Yerisha Charents. To all the friends, distant and near, to all the worlds and suns, to all the flame-like souls, those whose soul burns bright, to all their sunlit souls in this savage twilight of life and death, to the blazing souls, salute, salute.